Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Fire and Lily. I know it's been quite a while since my last episode, but I've been doing some healing, doing some working on myself, and it's been going overall pretty well. I've been able to be a little bit more financially flexible, and I was actually able to buy myself my own Christmas present this year. And for Christmas, I bought myself a tattoo kit and everything that I needed. And I am on day 4 for my thigh tattoo and day 5 for my wrist tattoo, and I'm very happy with them, the way they turned out and everything. Yesterday I had a huge epiphany regarding just doing simple things like cleaning the house, doing laundry, just all these simple things that I've just always super struggled with, and I could never figure out why. And yesterday, in the middle of moving my room around, I just, all of a sudden out of nowhere, I became so frustrated and angry, and I just wanted to cry, and I had this big arguing match just going on inside my head. It just was just feeling so angry, just so frustrated, and that's usually what happens with certain things, like vacuuming, or things where I start to get frustrated and it just kind of builds up, and it can be very overwhelming, and that's one of the reasons I don't like to have anybody around me when I do cleaning and stuff. And I realized it came from living in my adoptive parents' house and just the trauma that surrounded doing chores and everything, and just everything like that. And so anytime I do certain chores, I'm literally having emotional flashbacks where all of a sudden I'm back a teenager and I'm trapped, and it's just it's so overwhelming. And so today is January 2nd. It's a Sunday. The year is 2022. And yesterday I did 2 loads of laundry. I rearranged my room. Today I'm hoping to get the rest of my laundry done. And I'm also planning on making some spaghetti and meatballs because I have the veggies for it. I have some different color peppers, red, green, and orange, red, and yellow, I think. I have some mushrooms. I love mushrooms. I already have the pasta. I got frozen meatballs. I have pasta sauce as well, and it was kind of really exhilarating yesterday, having that epiphany that, I now see why I have such a big hesitation and a huge frustration whenever it comes to, doing things like laundry or doing dishes or just simple things to keep my house organized. And I see that it's rooted in trauma and traumatic experiences. However, one of the most beautiful things I've learned on this journey is, yes, even though I'm gonna get triggered, and sometimes I can get so triggered I don't even feel like I'm in the present moment. Like I feel like I'm back in that moment when it originally happened. And for me, that was probably one of the most frustrating things when it came to healing, was that I had no control, or at least I thought I didn't have any control. And it took time for me to get stronger and bolder and really differentiate. I really had to, clean up my life and remove people from my life who were doing more damage than good. And, once I started to really reel in my life and have a more balanced and, peaceful life, then when I go into those flashbacks or when I go back to those places, because the present moment I'm in, the life that I'm living is much calmer, I'm actually able to recognize that it's from something in the past. And through doing that, I'm then able to work with myself and then just really, it's tough. Like, keeping my house clean, like, I would have these times when I'd have this mass amount of energy and I'd rearrange my house, and I'd make it look so pretty, and then I just couldn't keep up with it. Or I would have, like, just enough energy. And right now, one of my big things is not having a vehicle. I'm going to have to figure out somebody to come take some of the stuff away to the dump, because that's where I have locally. And yeah, like, I just, instead of, like, I think about it and I start to get that warm kind of feeling, even just now, just the panic and the frustration and the oh my god, and I'm able to sit here, and I'm able to, really sit with myself and remind myself that, I have all the time in the world. I don't have someone standing in my house yelling at me. I don't have severe consequences if I don't do it. I mean, it's something I want to do, and it's something I've been working towards, and everything that I've been doing has been what I've been working towards, and, it's been really nice. And one of the kind of really great positive things for me lately is my friend. He moved back to Nova Scotia, and it was really tough. But I've come to terms with it. The last time we kind of talked was Christmas, and I didn't really hear from him that often, and so after Christmas I just kind of stopped reaching out to him, and yesterday I unfriended him on my social media accounts, and I deleted Disney Plus, because for me, I can't have that connection in my life. I can't have him on my social media or, use his Disney Plus like he said I could. I just can't do that. If I'm not talking to someone and there's not that effort made to have that connection with me, then I just can't have any connection in my life. I have to cut it off. And I did, and I honestly feel a lot better, because, the last couple of weeks have been really tough. I've been getting stronger and stuff like that, but, like, we did really connect on, like, a really nice deep level. Like, we kind of really understood each other, and, I really felt understood and heard and all that kind of stuff, and it was really great. So I just kind of thought that we might talk more, but also at the same time, before you left, I kind of had a feeling that we wouldn't, and that's okay. He's got his life, and I've got my life. And I'm very, very grateful for the time I spent with him. It really helped, change such a big part of myself that I didn't realize someone else could, And I'm so grateful for that, because it's then helped me now have that change internally, which has then now also helped me to make these really amazing epiphanies and, continue on. And I'm grateful for that. And even though we don't talk anymore and stuff like that, I think about him once in a while, but I'm letting it go, and I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for how I feel about it. And, like, my plan for today is, I think I already mentioned it, making spaghetti meatballs and finishing my laundry. But also yesterday this is my thing. So I make goals for myself during the day. So yesterday it was do 2 loads of laundry and make spaghetti meatballs and take out the garbage. That's all I had to do. However, when I was doing the laundry, I got like really excited in my bedroom because I kind of had a really big, nice breakthrough that I had a flashback of living at my adopted parents' house and having all my clothes hung up on hangers, and I really liked it. I liked being able to go into the closet and stuff, and so that's what started me moving my room around. And so yeah, I put a lamp in my closet, and I hooked it up to an extension cord. It's a blue light bulb, but that's okay. And yeah, so when I finished those 2 loads of laundry, I folded the stuff that I wanted put in my drawers, and I also hung up quite a few items of clothing. And even just last night, like, I grabbed my first towel, I grabbed my pajama pants, and I went into my closet and I grabbed my t-shirt to go sleep in. And there's just something about that. Like, I've always had this thing where I love, like, structure in the sense of I like, opening up a closet and then getting to see what I want to wear, instead of, like, rifling through a drawer and, and it's all these different things that I forgot I liked, because it's kind of ironic, but yesterday, when I was in my, like, really triggered state, I remember, I can't tell if I'm talking out loud or thinking, when I get really stressed out, but, it's just been me, and I've kind of not really talked to a human in a while. It's probably been about a week. I mean, I've talked to people at Chevron and stuff, and people I run into, but not an actual real conversation. Which I, weirdly enough, don't mind. Oh, I quit smoking yesterday, and I'm fully ready to just stop completely. Like, I'm so ready. It's been something I've wanted to do for a while. I don't even like the taste of cigarettes. Anywho, so I was, like, thinking to myself, or out loud, I don't know. I was, like, so frustrated. I was like, it really fucking sucks. They taught me all these really good stuff, all these awesome life skills, but they were just such assholes that they ruined it for me. And I forgot, like, I had, then I also had another flashback of, when they first taught me that, when I, like, first learned, how to hang my clothes up and stuff, and how I was really excited, and I really liked it, but then, the more trauma went on at that house, the more I just couldn't even do it, and then I got yelled at for that kind of stuff, and, so for me, it was, like, really confusing and really frustrating, and, that's really been a big thing for me, is due to the trauma in that house of, I am really smart. There are a lot of things I can do, and there's a lot of things that I'm really good at, and simple stuff of cleaning to, just simple but really important stuff, and I'm really good at it, and I really enjoy it. But the thing is, like, due to the trauma that went alongside learning those things in that house, like, it was just really hard for me to, put aside that, and I haven't fully yet. This is something I'm working towards, and this is something that I went to bed thinking last night, and I was thinking about all yesterday, and I'm feeling confident about it today, and, that's just where I'm at. I take it one day at a time, and, I've been, really learning more about CPTSD, childhood PTSD, which I have, for a number of things. There's this really cool lady, the Crappy Childhood Fairy, and she's on Instagram and YouTube, and if any part of my childhood has resonated with you or you can relate to, I would highly suggest her channel. She is also taking her experience and stories and helping others. She's definitely got like a lot of tips and tricks and a lot of different information, and she's collabed with quite a few people, and she's just, you know how when you go to a counselor or a therapist and you're talking with them and you just know that they haven't been through what you've been through, and so as you're telling them your story or whatever, you just totally feel just like, what's the point? Like, I know you won't understand. Well, when I'm listening to, her name is Anna something, I can't remember how to say her last name, but from the Crappy Childhood Fairy, like, I listen to her speak, and I've heard bits and pieces of her story, or just even the way she explains CPTSD, and, you know, it makes so much sense to me, and when I listen to her, like, I know I can relate. So I feel more open to listening and understanding, as opposed to, you know, someone who hasn't gone through what I've gone through telling me about what I've gone through or what I need to do, or, you know, that's just always been such a big frustration for me when it comes to, like, healing myself. And that's something that, like, I always thought was a bad thing, you know, that I just was so, like, distant and cold that I just didn't want to open up. You know, that's what I was told quite a few times. But, you know, I think, you know, like, there's people I've met that have gone through different lives and different experiences. Sorry, I have a hiccup coming, I think. Oh, no, not yet. You know, people go through different experiences, and, you know, some experiences, I honestly, I'm so alienated, not to say it in, like, a negative term, to be like, oh, I'm alienated from you, but it's to say in a sense of, like, my biggest thing is, if I cannot relate at all, I will say I can only imagine, you know, either I can only imagine what that was like, I can only imagine what you've gone through, because for me, to not have gone through an experience like that, one where I can relate or understand, or, you know, begin to imagine emotionally or mentally or physically what that would feel like, I can only imagine, you know. And I think a big thing for me that's been really important is to really state that, you know, when someone's telling me something, you know, it's to be clear and to be honest and say, I can only imagine, you know, like, I apologize that, you know, I haven't had the life experience to really be able to empathize and understand, you know, what that was like. Weirdly enough, I just had an epiphany, you know, I can just sit back and ask them if they're open to sharing, you know, what that was like. But even if they tell me, you know, I still don't have anything in my memory bank or my life bank to check against it, to even understand it. Like, you know, I guess that's been one of the biggest struggles for me, is I've had such complexities in trauma happen to me. Like, just like, I don't know, I always used to say I've been on both sides of many different coins. You know, I've been rich, I've been homeless. Not rich, but, like, comfortable without parents, whatever. You know, big house, and then literally having no house. I've been severely depressed. I've been almost otherworldly excited for life and optimistic. I've had people treat me amazing, and I've had people treat me horribly. I've had just all these intricate experiences, these intricate traumas especially, that luckily and kind of gratefully, I'm grateful that, you know, my path has gone the way it has, in the sense of I can relate to so many people. And, due to my different situations and the things that I've gone through and the emotions and the thinking processes and the way my body felt and the way my mind felt and my heart felt and all these different positions. The world is sadly filled with lots of suffering. And, I really appreciate, the life that has been given to me. It really sucked. It really did. Like, if there could be a perfect world where no one got hurt, that would be amazing. That would be so fucking amazing. But that's not how life is, And as much as, and it kind of like overshadows into having kids, I wanted, a big thing for me that I really got stuck on when it came to working through my trauma is I wanted to perfect myself in a sense. I wanted to make sure that I was completely and utterly, stable emotionally, mentally, physically before I have kids. And that's definitely something I'm working towards. But I can prepare myself as much as possible, But there's always going to be things that I can't protect my children from. There's going to be situations, as much as I have this dream to have my children have the best life possible, I'm not in full control. And that's been something that I've really struggled with, because I had on one hand, I was fully, all ready, and I still am. This is what I've been working for, for me, I want to be a mom more than anything. That is my ultimate dream, to be a mom. That's just it, and for me, I understood, and through my own experiences, I've seen how unhealed trauma, or basically unhealed trauma, or trauma that is, the pusher behind people's actions, but also people's choices in general. I've learned that, you can have a lot of trauma, and that doesn't make you an asshole. It's what you choose to do, and that was a really big, tough lesson for me, because I was so terrified of becoming an asshole. I thought that if I didn't, work my hardest to completely fix myself of my past and my trauma, that I would be an asshole. That there would just be this point in time where a magic switch would happen and I became an asshole. I'd have no choice in it. And it's been through my growth and through my journey that I've realized that, you, at the end of the day, have the choice to be an asshole or not. I'm sorry, but you do. I mean, for me, I don't know what it's been. I've been an asshole sometimes, don't get me wrong. But especially, I've had to learn the difference. For me, I was always shunned for having boundaries and stuff like that. That was one of the biggest struggles for me, was my adoptive mother completely invaded all my privacy boundaries. She would come into my bedroom every night, I'm going to be honest, one time I was masturbating and she walked in and she literally brought my adoptive father up. She literally called him up the stairs, and it was so fucking embarrassing. She used to read my diary or journal, whatever the fuck you want to call it, She would literally walk in on me when I was in the bathroom, and I'm talking about times when I was butt naked, either sitting on the toilet or in the bath. This woman completely invaded my boundaries, and no matter how many times I put up boundaries, or, it got to the point where I would yell at her, it wouldn't change. And that really fucking sucked. Because, it really fucked with me for quite a long time. Because same with my adoptive father and same with my adoptive mother. They taught me two very things that highly impacted me. One, for my adoptive father, was something bigger than you can come along and hurt something that you love. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. Which really fucking sucks and is so not true. It just might take a little bit of a harder work and a little bit more time, but it is possible. 2, that no matter how many boundaries you put up, which are your boundaries, which you really are allowed to have, especially on certain aspects of privacy, of just being a human being and having your own body privacy, privacy to be naked all by yourself without people walking in and other stuff. You're allowed to have boundaries of people going through your personal shit and just all this stuff. But what she taught me was I wasn't allowed to. That no matter how many boundaries I put up, they would always be crossed. And no matter what I did, that there's nothing I could do. Well, that's not true. Because, you know what? I have boundaries now. And I have my own house. I have my own apartment. They're not here anymore. They're not here to come in and invade my life and, invade my privacy, hurt, just, they're not here anymore. And so a lot of my healing has been to remind myself and remind my body and those traumatized parts of myself that they're not here. They're not here. They're not in this apartment. They're not here yelling at me. They're not here invading my space or hurting my sister or hurting me. They're not here anymore. And that's the thing with trauma that can be one of the most frustrating things, because even though they're not physically here, the damage of what they've done can cause you to be more sensitive to things. So for me, like with chores, doing certain chores, certain aspects of it, there's just some really bad traumatic experiences with my adoptive parents. So every time I go to do them, there's just something inside of me that feels like they're right there. It's kind of like surviving sexual assault, I've been personally working through that one through masturbation, for me to feel safe enough. Sometimes, I will honestly masturbate, and then I'm literally sent back to being a child again. And someone inappropriately touching me and forcefully doing things that were not okay. And it's been so traumatic, But at the same time, what I've learned is to have patience with myself. And that whenever I start to go back, I just be patient with myself, and I just remind myself I'm not there anymore. They can't hurt me. And, I've had such fear. If there's one thing I've been most addicted to in life, it's fear. And it's not because I wanted to be addicted to fear. It's because I had going through so many different experiences, and, I had a wide array of triggers of my traumas that would come back, and I would have flashbacks. And I think a big thing for me is the reason my life was so chaotic was just because I was being bombarded by these flashbacks and triggers, and they were just so non-stop that I was literally lost in this world of trying to differentiate what's actually going on in this moment and what's from my past. A big thing for me is nightmares, and especially when I get overtired, that's when they get really bad, because it's like, for me, when I'm overtired and I can't sleep, or if I don't go to bed soon enough, what happens, I swear, it seems like, is like I'm lucid dreaming while I'm awake. So I'm trying to get to sleep, but I start dreaming while I'm awake. So, I'll try to lay down in bed, and I'll try to close my eyes, but then I'll start having nightmares. And then so I'll open my eyes, and even though I can still see, my room and stuff, in the back of my head, I'm still like, I'm still dreaming and I'm still having nightmares. And, it's been really shitty. It's kind of messing up my sleep the last 2 nights. I was going to bed at a really decent sleep. I was going to bed at like 10 o'clock and waking up at like 8. Yesterday was 10:30. Not yesterday, I mean New Year's Eve. It was 10:30 and I woke up at 9. And last night I was really struggling with some nightmares, like I just described. So it was like 12. I don't even know. Oh, there we go. Oh, I don't even know what time I woke up this morning, actually. Can't remember. But yeah, I really do appreciate, like, you guys who do listen. Honestly, it means a lot to me, and I know it's not consistent. I know that it's not like every week or every month, and sometimes there's been times where I haven't posted another episode, and it's not because I don't want to. It's just, for me, I sometimes get called to it. Like, it's like, in the sense of like, I guess it's like yesterday. I didn't realize that I would have an epiphany and really realize the reason I struggled doing household chores so much is due to the trauma attached to it. I just never could make that connection because I honestly, I don't know. I was always pushing myself. I was always just looking at it because I needed to do it. And I mean, I needed to do my laundry for a while. But for me, the motivation was the fact that I gave myself a tattoo. And so, I've been really worried about it. And so for me, doing my laundry makes me less worried. And when I did the closet, because I was going to empty it all out, which I did, and then I was going to put an air freshener in there or something. Haven't figured out what I'm going to do yet. But yeah, so basically I looked in there, and I found all like these clothes that I didn't want or just hadn't used in so long. And then I found these dresses that, didn't fit me. And one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to start, eating more from home, and I wanted to start getting healthy again because, my body honestly was a lot more slimmer and healthier before I was put on the depot shot. And that's just, it's been kind of like this big mess of things I wanted to do, but I just haven't been able just to follow through on them. And I think it came down just to confidence and stuff like that. And so for me, having clean clothes to wear and, having a clean place and having my dishes done, and eating at home, like that's kind of what I'm working towards. And doing that will then give me more energy and it'll make me feel a lot better. And then, it'll give me the strength and the courage to start going outside more and exercising, even maybe exercising at home. I've tried all these different things many times before, and I'm just kind of deflated, and I think it's because I was just trying to jump far ahead as opposed to building a solid foundation. So right now, building a solid foundation for me is working through my triggers every time I clean, and to really just sit with myself. And now that I'm aware with it today, I'm going to do that. And I'm really just going to, every time I start to get frustrated, I'm going to take a few moments and I'm just going to remind myself of why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, and that it's okay to feel the way I'm feeling, but it's also okay to understand that they can't hurt me anymore. That this is my own house. Like, I've lived in this apartment basically 2 years now, and I'm still afraid to make noise. I'm still afraid, just to even talk to myself or just even have the TV up loud or make any noise. I've just been so terrified just to really embrace my home. And, there's just been so much anxiety just tied into things and stuff that I really didn't realize how much was really coming from my past experiences. And, when you've gone through what I've gone through, or just in general, when you go through shit and you're, finally on your own, and, you want to just tell yourself that you're there, that you're okay because you're now finally in your own apartment, you've been living here for 2 years, blah, 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 and it's great to do that, to boost yourself up, but also at the same time, I've had to learn that it's kind of like being out in outer space, and you're an astronaut and you're tethered to the ship, and you go and you run and you're like, oh, this is amazing, and then that tether catches you and pulls you back a little bit. It's just that yanking back feeling, and that's been definitely a big thing for me. Is I get really excited, I go out and, I work hard in my house, or I finish writing my book, or I give myself a tattoo, or just all these different little things that excite me. And then all of a sudden, I just get yanked back, because what I don't realize is that, all these things are super freaking great, but I also need to have that foundation. I need to be able to build, a new space station. I need to build one that's a little bit more flexible, and one that's able to, have a longer tether, and it's not that being tethered is bad, because if you have a new space station, like my house would be the space station, right now it's kind of like rickety, it's got all the traumas and the triggers, so you can just imagine each trauma and trigger like a malfunction, you could say. And it's like, so I can go out, right, and I can explore, but the thing is, if my space station is getting all wonky and there's so many things that are breaking down and malfunctioning due to triggers, then, it makes sense that I'd be pulled back from the tether, because I could only go so far, and I could only go out for so long and do these things for so long, due to the fact that I still have all these repairs I need to make on my ship. That is actually the coolest analogy ever. I love it. I never think about what I say before I'm going to say it. I just kind of say it. I have like a general idea of what I'm going to talk about, so like the chores thing. But I really actually absolutely love this idea of it being like a space station. So my apartment's like a space station. So, there's the different compartments of it, like vacuuming, laundry, cleaning, dishes, stuff like that. So there's like each little section. And, I can do it. And so let's just say doing the thing. So like doing the dishes, right? If I just do the dishes and I'm still super triggered and traumatized, I've just put a Band-Aid on it. Because the next time I go to do the dishes again, I don't feel the exact same way, And it may even take me a little while. Or if there's stuff that goes on in my life, which could be like other parts of the space station, So let's just say dishes are on one side and like friends are on the other side. If friends is having like maybe like, a meltdown, just because let's just say there's something traumatizing or triggering going on at my friend zone, I have to metaphorically run to the other side of the space station, and I really have to be in that side. But the thing is, the dishes, it may take the friend thing a couple weeks, but those dishes, they're going to be blinking and going off for those couple weeks until I finish on the friend zone. So the biggest thing is, and that's just one example. Then there's the laundry. Laundry's been going on for quite a while. And, I prioritize the dishes more because I eat more, And so the thing is, but then there's other things that are going on. There's vacuuming, there's organization, there's taking the trash out, or just some of the stuff has just been really overwhelming. And my whole space station's just been blinking red for so long. Like, this isn't something that's just started since I had my own apartment. This is something that's been with me since, living at that house, And it's something that I just had so many other things, like, those things, like, even though they're blinking red and they're like, they need to get done, or, they become really small in comparison to the rest of the other things that are exploding. Like being in a toxic relationship and just all the hazard lights those come with in the space station. Or, just different things, right? Like, or, living with my adopted parents. So that space station was always going off. There was one for, like, my chores. There was one for, my sister, my adopted parents, the dog, all my different hobbies, school, and then on top of that, they had, like, subsections. So there was, like, these rooms. So, like, if it was my adopted father, right, the room would be blinking, and then you go inside the room, and then there's, like, 10 things that are just, like, blinking, and it's just, like, but then there's also the adopted mother. She had a bigger room, definitely, and it was blinking even more. And then there was just hundreds of things in there. From the way I act, from the way I talk, from the way I look, from the way I express myself. Just like every single detail about my existence was all blinking red in that room. Because it was just a situation where I was constantly being critiqued, and I just, and you know what I mean? Like, can you kind of, like, grasp it? Like, there's just so many, like, things, like, and these are, like, red warning signs of, like, something needs to change or something's wrong, like, oh my god, like, we need help, SOS. And I just had this huge space station living there that it was just all, like, blinking and going red. Like, I'm surprised it didn't full on shut down, but hey, space, and I'm still here, and so the thing is, like, whenever, like, I have now my modern day spaceship, present day spaceship, whenever I now have, like, chores or these certain things that trigger, that start going off, and I see them, so, like, I'll walk by the kitchen sink, and I'll see the dishes, and the warning sign is just going off in my head that it needs to get done. But then all of a sudden, I start feeling the warning signs that are even more intense that are coming from that old spaceship. And it's just connecting. And now those two spaceships, that one little blinky light for the dishes has now triggered 20 blinky red lights from the old spaceship, from that adoptive house spaceship. So, even though it's in my current spaceship and it's just blinking, it makes me think of the old one, and that's been the thing, like, I've never really put into a metaphoric or, like, a visual before, and it's actually really helping me, and I really enjoy it, because the thing is, like, if I really break it down, like, I'm in a whole new spaceship, like, completely new spaceship. You could look at each house you live in or each place you rest your head as your own spaceship. And then, so it's, like, outside of your spaceship, outside of your house is, like, the universe or whatever, right? So you can only go so far on the tether if your spaceship's malfunctioning. Or, you can only put in so much time to learning how to extend your tether or places you can go, research. AKA the things and the places you can go on the earth, and, you know, the things you want to follow, your passions and stuff. And but yeah, it's been so amazing. I still have 15 minutes left. But yeah, looking at it as my new spaceship versus my old spaceship, like, it would make sense. Like, another prime example was when I first moved to the city I'm in. The first place I moved into was a roommate situation that was, the spaceship there was almost identical to the spaceship that I had been living with my birth mom. Different people, but it was the same type of red lights. You know, it was some creepy weird dude and not the best roommate, you know? And like, it just, like, there were so many similarities that it was just like the red lights just were just going, you know? And, you know, and top of that, there's like the lies and stuff and all that just kind of stuff that just, like, really impacts it. And just, like, you have to think, like, this blinky light is an emotion. It's a way that it makes you feel. Like, this red light, like, it can, I mean, it can be anything to you, but for me, it's an emotion. It's an emotional memory. So for me, like, when I do the dishes and there's that blinky red light, that's the feeling of, like, going back and, like, just feeling bad that I'm just struggling so hard just to do something so simple, you know. But what I don't realize, or I didn't realize before now, was that blinky light, it was still connected to the other spaceship of my adopted parents' house. So what I was feeling every time I went to do the dishes was, as soon as I started physically doing them, you know, I stuck my hands in there and I was washing them. Every single time, no matter how big or small amount of dishes, I was right back in that kitchen of that other spaceship. And it would just bring up all of the emotions. All of a sudden, like, I'm not in my present spaceship. I'm in one from, like, 10 years ago, you know. But the thing is, in that other spaceship, I have threats. I have people who are hurting me emotionally and sometimes physically. So even though physically I'm in my new spaceship, that red blinking light is just like, it triggers me to literally being in that old spaceship 10 years ago, you know? And it's really sad, and it is really traumatizing, you know. This is why I talk about it, and this is one of the reasons why I'm working on it, because I've been around enough people, you know, who are not the greatest and don't have positive intentions and have traumatized me, you know. And I know it was their choice, and, you know, it's just something that, like, I myself have never wanted to ever fall into. I myself have never, ever, ever wanted to become one of those people who chooses to hurt people. You know, hurt people, yes, that is a possibility. You know, and sometimes I was hurting people, but it wasn't intentionally, you know. For me, it was, you know, maybe I just didn't understand a person, or didn't know how to, like, open myself up, or certain stuff like that. And, you know, I'm not saying that I have not hurt anybody. I'm saying that I've made the choice, and I've continuously made the choice to try to monitor my actions, try to learn from every situation, so that I don't hurt people in the ways that I've been hurt. I would rather learn from my own mistakes and learn how maybe it's the way I talk, or, you know, how certain triggers have had certain survival reactions. And sometimes those reactions can hurt people. And, you know, I've really learned how to work through those interactions, and really learned how to take accountability. You know, to understand that, yes, it wasn't my fault that the trauma happened, but it's my responsibility to understand how that trauma's impacted me, and to work with it so that I don't continue to hurt others like others have hurt me. Because that's the thing, you know, some people they're out for revenge because someone hurt them. That's what we hear about bullies as a kid. Bullies pick on others because they've been picked on. And it's so freaking frustrating because, it's such a gray area in the sense of it doesn't bring up the fact that, like, I got bullied, but I never, I don't know if I've ever bullied anybody. I'm not 100% sure. And if I have in my younger years, I fully apologize if you're ever listening. I'm not sure if I have or if I haven't. But I can tell you that, I've really taken the initiative to be the one that stands up for people, the one that yells at the bullies, and, because that's my thing is, there's so many problems in this world. There's so many pains. There's so many traumas. There's just this never-ending kaleidoscope of trauma that can happen and that is happening every single moment. Like, every time you breathe, there's so much trauma happening in this world for so many different people in so many different ways. And, that's the biggest thing is we can go through traumatic events and we can let it take over us and we become people who causes trauma for others. Or we can take what we've been through and understand it and be empathetic and learn how to grow from it and learn how to work with our survival reactions and our triggers and our traumas to not only make better lives for ourselves, but those around us and hopefully future generations. That is the core reason why I wanted to work through my stuff, is because I want to have kids and I want to make sure that my trauma is not inflicted on them. I don't want them to have an overspill of my emotions. I want to, and I have been, working through my trauma reactions, working through my triggers, so that I can improve my life, with cleaning and stuff, and building up my foundation for myself. But then when my child enters this world, they'll have that same foundation that I've built for myself, and I continue to build for myself. And then it's off that, I create the foundation for my child. And then my child gets to choose, how they want to have their own foundation, their own spaceship. I want my spaceship that I bring my child into to not have all these red lights. I want them to have green lights and purple lights and just a gigantic disco party, instead of like, big bright red light for the dishes. It's a simple like little pink one. Like, hey, the dishes need to be cleaned, or it's time to throw the dishwasher on, or whatever you want to call it. Just instead of just being like red light dishes, and then when you go to do it, it brings me back to the other spaceship. And it's just all about me working through that myself on my own spaceship, and finally turning those red lights to pretty colors, and and then my spaceship will be with me no matter what house I'm in, and and then when I have a child, my spaceship, my personal spaceship, it's not blinking red all over the place, so that when I have to go do dishes, I'm not going to be brought back to that old spaceship from 10 years ago, or, maybe I might reflect on this current spaceship and really see just how far I've come. That's a really beautiful and important thing about life. And I'm so grateful for all of you, for you taking the time to listen to me. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great day, a happy new year, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Okay.